Yeah, hadn't done Chuft yet. This is one of those characters that I'm not really committed to the whole uh, gear set, and I'm probably going to change his gear set sometime in the future. But this is what he's using right now. This guy's actually using a Rin kit solely because of the fact that there was at one point in time a bug that let you get the Rin kit as a gold quality drop when you pick it up. Therefore, you don't need to upgrade it. The catch, of course, is that it's a relatively long story mission, and the mods are random. Except for the plasma thing. It always has that one. Well. I really am not. Yeah, I really feel like I should finish this because you can't re-engineer this one. All of the kits in the game that need re-engineering ability, that one. Anyways, moving on. So, his build, it's an interesting mismatch of things like Polaron bombardment, neutronic grenade. That is actually one of those things where it's interesting solely because of the fact that that grenade has a huge AoE compared to most grenades. Much bigger AoE radius, which is kind of the whole point behind the neutronic thing. Also, reducing enemy damage output is kind of nice. Motivation because it's one of the best tactical kit modules in the game. Psionic Command Aura. This is one of those that's kind of take it or leave it. The fact that it makes you run faster is actually pretty cool, although it only lasts 5 seconds and it has a rather heinous recharge, honestly. Mm, it's most notable for having a really, really cool vision. And it does that. The whole like glowing eyes thing will actually get applied to NPCs you're standing next to. See, again, it's fun, but not exactly amazing. Also, cryotonic modulation. Same reason as the other one. It just works. Overall, this is not what I would personally consider one of my better ones. It's one of those things I more just like cobbled together something for thematic reasons and didn't actually have a particularly strong logic mechanically. I was more or less like trying to figure out a way to make it work. Also, yeah, the original Nanobolt Spatleth. Mint. Uh, anyways, moving on. So, what are his things? I'm currently using Intel and Pilot, which is something you'll find familiar because from that I've used this on several characters. This character, though, I just didn't bother spending all of my spec points. I know, I'm lazy like that. In some cases, though, this is really more a matter of I haven't decided what I want to spend them on this character, so I'm saving them until I decide, which hasn't happened yet. Great. Eh. I have super saturated Katra stones on several characters, simply because I find it to be interesting. And also, the splash damage on this is a surprisingly large AoE for what it is. And it triggers once per. See, the lockout on this isn't like, oh, this trait has triggered, therefore this trait cannot trigger for another 30 seconds. No, no, no. Each individual enemy has a lockout, not the trait as a whole. That is one of the most fun things about it. The rest of his traits aren't special. I mean, he's using the situational awareness thing for grenades, which with the neutronic grenade actually works pretty good. The rest of it just, stuff. That should probably slot Technophile, though. I hadn't done that yet. Don't know why. Actually, on several characters, I just didn't have Technophile slotted, mainly because of the fact that I put together a set of traits before I actually had finished learning. Because it does take a bit of time and effort. Anyways, that's enough about that. So, what is my bridge officer team? 5 of 7, Laihata, Cordia, and Cenero. And again, it put them at the top. Cordia. Again, Delta Rising Intel Bridge Officer. I know, I use them for a lot of things. Her skills. For some reason, I gave her lunch. I don't remember why. Hang on a second. She doesn't have. How did she forget the intel power she came with? That's strange. That's a very bizarre bug. It's like fictionist particle sight and snare. Yeah, those are the only ensign and lieutenant abilities because that's just what she came with. This I added that because it's bridge officers trying to use neurolytic injection wasted. It just doesn't work. Lunge though, whatever. Thing is, like she should have some other intel ability here. Well, weird. Anyway, yeah. In her case, because she's using the Zephram Cochran shotgun, I kind of wanted her to get up close to enemies before using it. Throwing a frictionless particle grenade, then lunging an enemy would actually be pretty painful. Sight the Snipe and Snare's not as good, though. But it does work with the whole shotgun thing. It's like, pull the enemy closer to you, then shoot them. Eh. Her traits, standard human thing. Honestly, it's like, that's actually one of the things about her, the Delta Rising bridge officers, is the Romulan ones are actually really interesting in terms of what they can do. The Fed ones are the most generic, boring traits imaginable. The KDF ones are slightly interesting because they have unusual traits, but nothing special. Yeah, and she's one of the ones that's extra super boring. Anyway, though, moving on. 507. Again, this is the pre-order bridge officer, but you can technically buy for Zen, but if you have the pre-order, you get her as an account. I don't remember why I have this. Oh wait, this is from the TOS Starbase. I think I got it just because I wanted to see what the model looked like. Oh, you know what? Let's check. It's kind of cool. TOS disruptors generally look a lot cooler than the later ones. Anyway, so yeah, she's using some largely generic gear because like Sunpeg Shield and Terran Gorilla Armor, it's event stuff that you can literally reclaim on everyone. Cordia has the same thing. So this is a temporal operative bridge officer. Shockingly, I have paradox bomb compared to the mortar. If you're surprised by this, why? I hate uncertainty burst of bridge officers. Randomly rearranging enemies just usually doesn't do anything productive, and having a bridge officer do it with no plan whatsoever is just a waste of a power slot. Degeneration, on the other hand, if it's honestly a turret would probably do more damage, but it does kind of play with this, so yeah, decided to try it on this character. It's different than what I normally do, and as I've been doing these videos, I find that I have a certain setup I like to do with um, engineer bridge officers, and I don't actually have a particularly high amount of variation on that. Traits, I mean, this particular Borg bridge officer always has the same traits, unless you use a token to make her an elite bridge officer. A hot dog. Yeah, again, same deal with this. I think I actually haven't upgraded this character's crew since Mark 14 gear was the highest there was, which, um, hmm. Yeah, those are Mark 14 too, aren't they? No, those are 15. Oh, well then. Alright, so her skills. This is actually a randomly recruited bridge officer. I don't actually remember what method of random recruitment it was. It might have been one of the level up reward bridge officers, might have been something recruited from a duty officer mission. I don't remember. It was years ago. Honestly, the only way to record things like that is fill out a bio. You can actually do that if you really want to. Anyway, though, so her skills. She's also a temporal operative. For some reason, I decided to have like 3 different temporal operatives on this team. I think the idea was like stacking entropy and then consuming entropy by having multiple bridge officers use temporal operative abilities. I think that's where I was going with this. And also, I made sure to have grenades on tactical officers because, the thing with the situational awareness. That does. Actually, you know what? That's a personal trait, so I don't actually think that applies to my bridge officers. Anyway, target optics, why not? And then those things. Nero. Yeah. This is actually one of the Delta Rising. Wait, no. I don't actually remember what it is. I think this might actually be a different random bridge officer. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's not that. Anyway, okay, so it's different randomly recruited bridge officer. Her skills. Again, medical tricorder is one of my favorite skills for um, science bridge officers because yes, it's a single target heal. However, when it has this short of a cooldown, bridge officers can just spam it on anyone who needs healed when they need it because bridge officers can just reflexively target and fire this. And again, chronometric diffusion and paradox. I decided to throw multiples of them out. And she has cold fusion flash. Yeah. However, this is an ability that will root enemies. So that works with the mortars and paradox bomb. Yeah, the idea here was to make AoEs that enemies would get stuck in and blow up. and have 3 different bridge officers that work with that. Well, actually, you know what? Throwing a frictionless particle grenade into the middle of the cold fusion flash and paradox bomb stacking, adding a damage resistance rating penalty to being immobilized. Hey, why not? Yeah. Let's see here. Hypermetabolism, mentalism, spirit. Yeah, this is just like standard Trill traits. So yeah, this is a randomly recruited Trill, and that was it. This is one of those teams where, okay, also the costume on this one, I'm pretty sure that this is the pirate version of um Beckett Mariner from Lower Decks. Pretty sure that's what I was going with when I made this costume. Yeah, it amuses me greatly that we can rename most of the photonic bridge officers now. Yeah, had some fun making characters in this guy. Oh yeah, these are the other two Delta Rising Intel bridge officers. Oh, yeah, okay, I was right. One of them is a Trill, but it's not a Trill science officer. It's a Trill engineer who wears blue for some reason. The science officer is actually a Vulcan. Do I remember why I have a common quality Vulcan on my crew? No, I don't. Yeah, it's that old. To be quite honest, this is actually a pretty interesting setup for a melee build. And that's what she came with, as far as I know. Although, pre-Delta Rising bridge officers, if it's a randomly recruited bridge officer and not something special, because of the fact that they would forget skills whenever you train them in a new one, it's possible that at some point in time that I intentionally trained her to have those skills. Why I would do that with a common quality bridge officer, I don't know. Yeah. This guy, Photonic, who you can dress up almost anything. This is actually a tutorial bridge officer. The really, really old version of the Federation tutorial from way back would, instead of giving you a specific named bridge officer as your first officer, which in the current version is Elisa Flores, before they added her to the game, you actually had a choice between a tactical officer, a science officer, and an engineer. This was the science officer option. As people have seen in several of my other videos, the tactical officer option was an Andorian. Well, the science officer is a Vulcan. I'm trying to remember what the engineer was, because I literally never got the engineer because of the fact that I had the pre-order engineer bridge officer, so I just didn't have a reason to get the engineer. The KDF tutorial from back then was different in that it just gave you all 3 of them. It didn't make you choose. It's just like, oh, here's your starting complement of bridge officers. Gives you like 3 or 4. Why is this so white? Oh, okay. Anyway, though, that's that with my bridge officers. Alright, see you guys next time.